President Obama likes to brag that he killed Osama bin Laden and saved General Motors. Well, SEAL Team 6 killed bin Laden, and these days, GM isn't looking much healthier than the waterlogged mastermind of 9/11. I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta, and here to take a look at everyone's favorite example of crony capitalism, my two TV cronies, Scott Ott and Bill Whittle. Scott, you know how the magazine business works. You've been there. They say nice things about the cars, and the car companies buy lots of expensive ad pages. A harsh review in one of the glossy magazines. It's about as common as a sober Saturday night at my place. But from Fortune to Car and Driver to the New York Times, everybody hates the new Chevy Malibu Echo. What's going on here?
Well, my prediction is actually that the Chevy Malibu Echo will sell like gangbusters as a result of that, because people want something that draws a strong reaction. They don't like the middle of the road kind of thing. They'd love to have something that people hate or people love. So I don't necessarily think that in itself is bad. But what's going on here is government is producing things, and government is not good at producing things. I mean, the Malibu is the kind of car you would expect the post office to create.
Ouch. Actually, I think that was the Pontiac Aztek. All right, Bill, the Chevy Volt is still having problems finding a market. Sales are up, but not anywhere near making a profit. In fact, Seton Motley at Newsbusters published a study that estimates each $41,000 Volt might cost closer to $250,000 each to produce when you consider development costs and other sunk expenses. Now, the left loves to talk about sustainability, but how long can this go on?
Go on until we run out of taxpayer money, because the Volt, like Solyndra and like windmills in general, are not the product of a marketplace. They're the product of the government deciding for you what you should be doing in the form of gigantic subsidies for buying the car, subsidies to the companies for producing the car. We're being told every day that we have to drive a car that we don't want, that gets crappy performance in order to save the planet. When anybody who has a basic high school education knows here, it's been 20, 30, 40 degrees centigrade warmer than it is now. It's been 40 degrees colder than it is now. It's been 8 times as much carbon dioxide as there is in the air now. There's been a lot less carbon dioxide, but you're told that you have to drive this stuff to save the planet, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. If you leave the market alone, companies like Chevrolet will build cars that people want to buy, and the ones that they don't want to buy are quickly phased out. The ones that they do want to buy are continued. It's not so hard.
So now we can't phase out the bad ones because we got people in D.C. pulling the strings instead of the boardroom. All right, Scott, the real measure of a company is investor confidence, and GM shares are at near record lows right now. And as taxpayers, we've taken a $30 billion bath already, and that's before we try and sell the shares that we still own at Treasury. What does Wall Street know that the White House doesn't?
Well, Wall Street knows what normal people know. I don't think there's any particular genius on Wall Street that is, where they're making decisions that we wouldn't make for ourselves. We know fundamentally that the government cannot produce in time or in style or at a price-value ratio that the market wants. It's just not capable of doing that. What government is good at doing is running armies that blow things up and destroy things, and preventing nuclear weapons from being used. So if you want to have something explode, or if you want to have something never explode, hire the government. But if you want a hot car that you'd like to put in your front yard, forget it.
That's not entirely true. The volts explode a little bit.
Yeah,
Bill, on the other extreme, the gas-guzzling, high-powered Chevy Camaro, which, by the way, predates the GM bailout, it's selling so well that there's one in your garage now. Bill, you a sellout buying from GM.
I'm glad you asked me that. Yes, as of last Wednesday, I bought the first new car I've ever bought in my life. I've been doing this thing for about 10 years now, and on my Facebook page, I posted that picture. The first car I ever owned in my life was a 1970 Camaro. I bought it in 1976, and things are improving for both the styling of the car and the driver, I've noticed. Well, let me go to this. You're selling out your principles there, Whittle. If only you were a real conservative. Let me tell you what my principles are before I talk about how I sell them out. I believe in capitalism, I believe in freedom, I believe in hard work, reward, and doing what you damn well please. The Chevy Camaro is a car I've wanted ever since they rebooted it in 1910, and I have worked my tail off to save enough money to be able to buy that car. I don't want to buy a Mustang. I don't like the Mustang. I like the Camaro. Now, I was opposed to the GM bailout. I'm still opposed to the GM bailout. If GM hadn't been bailed out, my Camaro would have been significantly cheaper because GM would have renegotiated all of those union contracts, and I would have gotten the same car for a lower price. Before I finish this little rant, let me say that the Camaro is not only the best car I've ever owned, it is by a wide margin the best car I've ever driven. It is immaculately constructed. It's blindingly fast. I almost got the big block engine, but I cannot afford 6 speeding tickets an hour. But this is the best car I've ever owned. It's the car I want. So let me just say this. The bailout of General Motors happened, and I was opposed to that bailout, but the fact is that General Motors still owes the American people about $20 billion. But as of last Wednesday, they only owe the American people $19,999,970,000 because yours truly is helping to pay off that debt. And I did it because I want to. So there you go. Happy as can be.
It was my understanding there would be no math. All right, folks, you know what? Every car maker has some hits and some misses, some great cars and some not so great cars, except for Yugo, of course. Everything they made sucked. So it's really not fair to judge post-bailout General Motors just by the Chevy Malibu Echo, or the Volt, or the Sonic, or the GMC Terrain, or the Cadillac STS, or the Buick Verano. But Michigan, where people know General Motors and the United Auto Workers better than anyone in the world, Michigan is looking like it just might go for Mitt Romney this fall. Now, David Shribman says it's more in play than it has been since any time since 1988, even though Obama supposedly saved GM and saved Michigan. So the question might be, what does Michigan know that the White House doesn't? For PJTV, I'm Steve Green.